office here at Ladew. It's a great day for maple sugaring. It's bright and sunny. The temperatures are above freezing. It's about 39 degrees. So we're headed out to our sugar bush to check out the red maples and sugar maples to see if they are dripping so we can collect sap to make maple syrup. One of our favorite things to do here at Ladew. So come along. Let's see what we can collect. Okay, so we found one of our maples. We tapped red maples and sugar maples and even black walnuts. And you have to identify the tree in the wintertime. They're missing their leaves, so it's a little trickier. But with some trees, it's very easy with looking at the branching. So the maples have opposite branching. If you can see, they look like they have little arms coming off of the main branch here, opposite each other. It's broken off in a couple spots, so you have to look in several locations to verify it. Another spot here, opposites, buds grow opposite each other. Another opposite, little V there. And this is a sugar maple. The way I remember it, the buds are sharp and sugary brown, very pointy, very brown. As opposed to a red maple, which has red buds and are often rounded, especially when they start filling up. They get very large red rounded buds for red maple and sharp sugary buds. While we were looking at this sugar maple here, we noticed somebody was visiting it. Come closer. There's some old holes here. These are the tap marks from a woodpecker called the yellow-bellied sapsucker. In fact, there are some fresh sap holes right here. Sap dripping down from the tree. So the woodpecker drills just underneath the bark to hit the cambium, the sap layer. The sap drips out. There's enough sugar in there to attract insects. Insects come and eat the sap, drink the sap. Mr. Woodpecker and Mrs. Woodpecker comes back. The yellow-bellied sapsucker eats those insects, drinks the sap along the way. A lot of fun. A lot of great clues of critters while we're out here tapping the trees. Okay, we're ready to tap. We're going a little primitive here. Instead of using a power drill, we're using a hand brace drill. Easy, fun to do with kids. And we use a 7/16 or a 5/16 size drill bit. This is a 5/16. So we've taken a look at the spots where we've tapped in the past. We've tapped over here 2 years ago. We tapped over here last year. So you typically move, if you're going horizontally, at least 6 inches to the side. So we're going to pick the spot right in here, which hasn't been tapped for quite a while. And here we go. We go in about 2 inches. And if we're lucky, the sap should start dripping as we are drilling, because again, this is the tree that we did just find sapsucker holes in, which is dripping today. Sawdust is a little wet. So it's a good sign. You need freezing overnight temperatures followed by above freezing daytime temperatures in order for the sap to flow. So today is a perfect day for it. Should be about right. Reverse it. Oh, there it goes. Eventually it'll come out. Sawdust out of there so we don't clog up the pathway through our spile. Handy dandy little spile or spout.
Oh, it's really fuzzy.
Oh yeah. You gotta listen carefully. Favorite sound. sap. Music to our ears. Sometimes we use the power drill. It's a lot faster. If you imagine a commercial farmer doing thousands of trees, you'd want to use something with some speed. So a power drill comes in very handy. Let's clean out the sawdust. Drip. Sometimes we just don't know what's going on inside the tree, health-wise. But we'll give it a couple days and check it out. Okay, so we tapped our trees 4 days ago. Here it is, Tuesday morning, about 11:30, and it is still dripping. It's a little bit sunny. It's about 30, upper 30 degrees, and our bucket is almost completely full. Can you see inside there? This holds about 2 gallons, maybe a little more than 2 gallons. And we've got some critters in there. There's a little insect in there trying to get a little snack of sugary sap in them. So we're gonna take this off the tree and filter that little bit of debris and insect life into or out of our sap and pour it into a jug. Here we go. There's a big layer of ice on top, so we'll try to do this. Can you put it on the ground? Try to do this without making a big sloshy mess. All right, so we collected about 2 gallons. We could have filled a little bit more from this bucket here. We're going to take this back and boil it down. It takes 12 gallons of sugar maple sap to make 1 quart of sugar maple syrup. So it's a lot of work to boil that down from about 2 to 4% sugar in there, boil down to about 66% sugar in syrup. We're getting ready for our Maple Magic program, our annual event. This is year 16, and it's sold out, unfortunately. It's a popular event, but we hope to see you next year in 2022. Thanks. Okay, so we've taken our sap from our jugs and poured it into some pots. They're boiling away. Typically you start with a big pot or several big pots. You boil them down. When they get really low, then you transfer them to a smaller pot to finish it off. You'll notice the color on this smaller one is getting a bit darker. It's going to finish pretty fast, so you got to keep an eye on it, especially when it's boiling back quickly. It starts to get frothy, thicker, darker, so you got to keep an eye on it. I often put a timer on my stove so that I don't get too distracted and walk away and allow it to burn, which does happen. That's the beginner's mistake. So we'll keep an eye on this, and as it gets lower and get ready to pour off, we'll check back in and we'll pour it off into our containers. So we'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, so we've transferred it all into one little pot. We started with about a gallon and a half today. Doesn't look like much. But we'll add it to what we've already boiled so far. It's getting really close to finishing off. Technically it should be 219 degrees. I just tested it, it's about 200. At this point, if I'm just using it for my home use, I eyeball it based on the color and the thickness. So that's hard to tell thickness when it's this hot, but kind of get a sense once you get used to it. So I'll give it a couple more minutes and then it'll be ready to pour off into my glass container. All right, it's ready to pour off. It's hard to tell how thick it is because again it's so hot, but once you get to know, you get to recognize it. So anyhow, if you do it too long, it will be too thick and it could eventually crystallize into candy, which you don't want. All right, so there you have it. You can see it dripping off, getting thick. That's called sheeting. It's another way you know that it's ready, when it starts to hold on to itself like that, coming out of the pot. Anyhow, alrighty, so there's our syrup. We'll cap it off. We'll let it cool a little bit. Put it in the fridge, and it's ready for consumption in my home here. If I were bottling it and saving it for the year, then I would bottle it a little differently with a certain temperature and seal it right away. But we're just going to throw it in our fridge and eat it immediately. So there you have it. All right, here we are enjoying the final goodness of all our hard work. Homemade, naturally made maple syrup collected from the trees, boiled on the stove, and in our belly. How's it taste?
So yummy.
So yummy.
I keep wanting. I just want to keep eating it.
You just want to keep eating it. It's the best,
And
huh?
eating it.
And eating it. You'll
And
notice
eating
it's
it.
kind of honey colored this early in the season, the first couple weeks. The syrup tends to be a light golden color, light flavor, light color, almost like caramel or caramel, however you want to say it. So good. All worth the effort. Happy maple sugaring season, everyone. We'll see you next year. Bye.
Bye.